they spoke. Michelle, there will be no demonstrations tomorrow.
There will be no
demonstrations.
The question even to Kidaka will be, will these demonstrations result in any change in government policy that will favor Kenyans?
You know, one thing that, first of all, I want to disagree with him, because if you look at this demonstration first, it's not about Raila and the Ruto. It's about Kenyans. Because you see, by the end, if you look at it, Raila is not the one who's telling people, go and demonstrate.
Who did?
What is happening right now is the situation.
Who did?
It's the situation.
He organized
No. Things are tough.
He organized.
No. It's not about organizing. You know, for him...
Would Kenyans be out there, Arnold, if they had jobs?
When last did you call for a demo? When last did you call for a demo?
I had a job.
Who called for this demo?
I had a job to come to.
So who called for this demo? So there are people with jobs who are unable to go to work. I was showing you a video on how I drove from home to this place. And the tear gas I saw along the way.
If what you're saying is
I still had something to come here, right? To do, right? But there are people who are home. And even as we want to joke, probably let us look at this. Schools asked children who had business to do in school not to turn up. Teachers who had something to do, they also had a job to do. They are unable to go to school because if they go, they have got children who are vulnerable and we do not want to.
Unable to go, but they have jobs. Those
but
who are
they
taking
had something.
part
You
in the demonstrations
you had a job to come
largely do not have jobs.
You see, according to him, then Raila is very powerful.
He is, definitely.
If he can be able to control even the whole country, then he's more powerful than the president.
You know exactly that the balance of fire here, when you're talking about a monopoly of disorganization here, he actually has got a monopoly on disorganization.
So if the
the other bit of it, you know, this argument, by the way, it cannot get base beyond that. Talking about who is in power and who is not. You see, we are provoking and pushing the state into a place where they will be forced to use maximum force. And when they use maximum force, we want to run to the international world and say they are killing people here. One of the things that really makes the opposition not happy is when a mandamano goes down and no one has died. But when somebody has died and there have been bullets and everything else, we beat up police officers as if they do not have parents. And we cheer. But when one particular police officer misbehaves and beats up a demonstrator and we capture it on camera, we sensationalize it.
All right. We have live pictures from Syokimau there. You know, with the reporters taking a look at the situation across the country, and more regions and more counties continue to join in on these anti-government demonstrations. Meanwhile, KEPSA now estimates that the economy is losing about 3 billion shillings a day due to the protests, warning that Kenya cannot afford the prevailing political activities. Alex, just looking at that figure, we're losing 3 billion shillings a day due to these protests. How sustainable will this be? And what's the end game from where you sit?
You see, things are tough. You see, according to him, what he's saying that President knows what to do. The best thing that President should do is to call Raila on the table and they solve this issue. If that is the best that they can do, but I don't think that is the solution. The thing is, Kenyans are struggling. Everything is expensive. Even right now, as we are speaking, the reason why you see people demonstrating, even I was in the village and the people were like almost everybody, all the students there, they were onto my neck, pushing me to help them pay school fees. Things are tough. So the best thing that the president should do, if calling Raila will cool down everything, that's the first thing that should do. Let him talk to the opposition, let them agree, and let them run this guy. Like, you remember what Kibaki did? I think that's the best thing that we can do for our country, because we also losing.
Like you mentioned, this isn't about, Raila and the government or the opposition in the government. It's about the Kenyans.
No,
like
you see,
you say. So
listen, let me tell you something.
What practical ways of lowering the cost of living can result from a conversation between the two parties?
The thing is, the reason why I said it's okay, he can call Raila and they have a setting. The reason being, let him listen to them, because I'm 100% sure Raila is not interested in running a government with Ruto. He's not. That's why you see, even the talk that they had, they were unable to continue, because he don't want to run the government with Ruto. But what is there, they can sit down as leaders and agree on how they can help Kenyans. That is what I can say.
All right, and Kenyans want the cost of living
to
go down. But Maliba, what I wanted to ask you...
Can I respond to that?
Absolutely, yes.
Number one, it is not true that Raila is not interested in running government with William Ruto. In 90s, when we were kids, when everybody else on the side he said he belonged to was actually not happy with the way Moi was doing things, he is the one who folded up NDP and allowed the cock to swallow the tinger. We will say later on he joined Mwai Kibaki and everybody else, and then of course in 2002 he formed the NAC government. If all of us can remember the words Raila said about Uhuru Kenyatta, I was a mature person in 2013 and I saw that particular campaign. And I remember that campaign was so heated. When we went to elections in 2017, again, I was in a position, I was an adult with a sound mind and actually actively political. I'll tell you this, I did not believe that we on the other side at that particular time from CORD and NASA would work with Jubilee at that particular point. But we saw a handshake. So it is not true. When the president actually reached out to Raila during the first phase of Maandamano, they called a press conference very fast and said he has called us and everything else. So it is not factual. I just wanted to actually disabuse that lie that Raila is not interested in running a government with William Ruto. I can put it here and on authority that some of the asks they put forth was there are people being considered into government during that particular time. It is on record. Their own people have said it's not a lie. They've even said on air. So to say that Azimio is entirely not interested in joining government is actually to utter a white lie.
Can I tell you something?
Yes, please.
The chemistry between Raila and Ruto is not good. These people working together, you see, President Uhuru was a different person. But you see, the people who surround our current president, those are cartels. And you see, Raila is not into such kind of leadership. So Raila is a very straightforward person. So you cannot compare, you cannot tell Raila will work with Ruto. Ruto is somebody who wants to work with those cartels, who want to put his people here and there. That's why you see, instead of him uniting Kenyan, making sure that he works with all tribes, he is fronting the Kalenjin and the Kikuyu.
You see, one thing. What is a cartel?
As you answer that question, Arnold, I came across a tweet this morning by Mutahi Ngonyi, and he's asking, Mutahi Ngonyi is asking the president, when will you address the cost of living? Because he promised he'll do it when he comes into power. And then when he came into power, he said he needed a bit more time. And then as soon as he said that, there was demonstrations, there was a Supreme Court petition, there was one thing after another. Now we have more demonstrations. We have 3 months to the end of our whole year where he has been president. So when will he start handling the cost of living?
The president is going to actually eventually be joined by goodwill Kenyans of goodwill, who actually are getting a little bit impatient with the political impasse because we have not moved away from the August loss. That's the truth. You remember there was an attempt to push people to go into the streets after elections, so much so that when people resisted, there is a section that felt like this wouldn't work. And then they had an opportunity in the cost of living. And of course, the promises. So they are here polarizing the nation, specifically to take us back. And there is one thing that the Azimio side really loves, having what they call a constitutional crisis. Now we are collecting 10 million signatures and we are quoting Article 1 and saying it has never been done. But then when the people exercise their power directly, on this other side, how it's delegated, it's actually already, there's a framework on that. You will elect somebody, you will recall, and you'll do that. Now we are collecting signatures, and we want to precipitate something they love to use, a term they love to use, and that is a constitutional crisis. So that at the end of the day, they find themselves on a table somewhere. When there was an opportunity for them to sit on a table, they send representatives.
You know, one thing
so he was speaking about cartels. And I actually told you earlier on that the word cartel, a lot of times is used by people, it's an escapist term. Because just because you have called me here, any other person who wanted to be here and is unable to come will say, Michelle and Arnold have formed a cartel. Michelle, Arnold, and Kidaki have formed a cartel that shows up on TV. And I wanted to go there. Probably I am brilliant than both of those people there, but they are there. So that is an escapist and reactionary term. I'd like us to have a serious conversation as a nation. When will the president sit down? The president is already doing that. He passed the finance bill. He's opened up Kenya to business, even to spaces where traditionally we've really not been looking there because we were afraid to look up there. The president is speaking to the continent, wants to open up people to come in here. But what are we doing here? We are gaslighting the president left, right, and center. On the other side, he's being guilt-tripped. Right. He's being given, there's all manner of obstacles being thrown in his, in his way, but we are still asking him, when will he do it? And you are on the streets. When will he do it? And you are in courts. Right. When will he do it? And you don't want to pay taxes.
What I can tell you, even without Raila, Kenyans will still demonstrate. because of the high
But
cost
they had
of
to wait
living.
for him, right?
No. Even with or without.
Did they do it before he called?
All right, gentlemen, we have to take a short break here at K24 Newscut as we bring you coverage of the anti-government demonstrations. We'll be giving you more details of the proceedings outside. We understand that Kitengela police station, protesters have invaded the Kitengela police station, and so far 2 people have been shot dead, with electricity being disconnected in the entire Kitengela town. Take a short break, but do stay with us. More details to follow in a short moment.
Kenya's debt rose from 8.701 trillion